See? Once again, good morning, everyone. Please make sure you have your science notebook, your pencil, your colored pencils, and crayons. Today's lesson is being recorded. So if you get kicked out, your internet acts up, or anything like that, Miss Neville will have this lesson recorded for you, and I'll upload it to YouTube as soon as our class is over. All right, guys, let's get started. So today we're going to start talking about the other layers of the Earth's atmosphere. And so we're going to talk about what those layers are and why they're important to our lives and our safety and the weather and climate that we experience here. So I want us to make sure we remember that greenhouse effect. Hopefully you're able to see my screen. If not, give it a second. That greenhouse effect is a natural thing. It's like putting on a coat when you're cold. The greenhouse effect is a good thing naturally. It's the Earth's way of heating itself. But what's happening is, because of the activities that we are engaging in as humans, using fossil fuels, CFCs, we are creating more greenhouse gases, which are causing these greenhouse gases to trap more heat. So our Earth is becoming overheated. Okay? Corey, go ahead and unmute yourself and tell me what you need.
I was going to ask you for CFCs.
CFCs are chlorofluorocarbons. If you didn't know what CFCs are, you'll need to go back and watch the pre-recorded lesson that Ms. Neville put out yesterday in our folder in our science class.
Okay.
So when we're talking here, and I stopped sharing my screen, when we're talking here about that greenhouse effect, it's important for us to know what the greenhouse effect is, what are some examples of greenhouse gases, and what is the job of the greenhouse effect, and what human activities are causing the greenhouse effect to work too well. Now we're going to start talking about the other layers of our Earth's atmosphere. If you would please, write that at the top of a new page. You may want to turn your notebook horizontally, as you're going to be drawing a pretty large picture today. Ms. Neville's going to try her best to make this picture colorful so that you are able to make your picture colorful as well. So when we're looking here, we have our Earth. We have our Earth there. We're going to put our green continents here. Most of our Earth is water. Okay, and we're also going to label this as our Earth. Can someone please turn on their mic and let us know what is the layer closest to our Earth?
Troposphere.
The troposphere. Can someone different tell us what is the purpose of our troposphere? Go back and look in your notes, that's okay. What is the purpose of our troposphere? We want to remember that our troposphere is our thickest layer, and our troposphere is where weather happens. All weather is going to happen here. We also want to make sure we know that this is where airplanes fly. Airplanes fly in that troposphere. And in the troposphere, this is where we started talking about the law of altitude. As altitude increases, the higher we go up from our Earth, what happens with temperature and pressure? Can someone let me know?
Decreases.
Colder.
Temperature and pressure decrease. We then learned about our second layer of the atmosphere. Can someone turn on their mic and tell us about the second layer of our atmosphere? What's its name?
Stratosphere.
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 Can someone tell us why the stratosphere is important?
Because that's where the
It also has the ozone layer.
Very good. That's where our ozone layer is located. Whatever Miss Neville's drawing in her notes, you should be drawing as well. You'll also want to notice that this is where Miss Neville's using different colors. Now you can't use white like I can because my background is blue, but you want to make sure each of your layers is a different color. That's going to help out a lot. When we're talking about the next layers of our atmosphere, the next layer isn't nearly as thick as our troposphere is. That third layer is called our mesosphere. Our mesosphere. And the job of the mesosphere, we're going to write this up here in the teeny tiny corner. The mesosphere is super, super, super cold. It's the coldest layer of all of our Earth's atmosphere. And the reason why is because the mesosphere breaks up meteors. Now, meteors are superheated rocks that could fly toward our Earth and enter our atmosphere. Meteors are very hot. So because the mesosphere is very cold, it slows down those meteors and it breaks them apart. It causes them to break apart. So the mesosphere is important because it breaks up meteors. And that's the third layer of our Earth's atmosphere. I'll give you a second to write that down before we go on to our next layer. Our fourth layer of our atmosphere, what color do I want to use? Let's try to use that dark blue. Our fourth layer of our atmosphere isn't very thick either. Fourth layer of our atmosphere is our thermosphere. Our thermosphere. This is our fourth layer. The job of our thermosphere, it's very, very hot. who would have thought it that the hottest layer is right on top of our coldest layer, okay? The thermosphere is our hottest layer of all of the layers. And the reason why it's a hot layer is because of the job it has. Let me rewrite that because my pen went wonky. I apologize about that. And the reason why our thermosphere is our hottest layer is because it helps our ozone layer. It's our ozone layer's first line of defense. Okay? It helps the ozone layer to absorb harmful radiation from the sun. So once we get that light, that radiation being emitted from the sun to our Earth, it's going to hit that thermosphere first. The thermosphere is going to absorb a lot of that radiation that comes from the sun. Whatever harmful radiation is left over as it passes through our thermosphere is hopefully going to be stopped by our ozone layer. So our thermosphere is our warmest layer because it absorbs, pen is tearing my nerves up. It absorbs UV, ultraviolet radiation from the sun. It absorbs ultraviolet radiation from the sun. And our last layer, scientists argue about because it's not technically a layer, it's literally outer space. Our last layer is going to be our exosphere. And so today we're going to teach you a hand motion where you're going to be able to, it's going to help you to remember each of these layers. And I want you to remember that the exosphere is not even technically a layer. It can be considered, in fact, some scientists consider it outer space. And the job of our exosphere, this is where satellites are launched. So there's just enough gravitational pull in our exosphere to keep satellites orbiting around our Earth. So this is where we'll find all of our satellites. I'll give you some time to finish writing this down. And we'll go on with class. We'll finish up our lesson with a hand gesture, and then we'll talk about your assignments for today. Okay, guys, so let's go on. Remember, if you didn't finish this, it's not the end of the world. This lesson has been recorded, and so you'll be able to see it later on. So I want you to put up your hands for me, please. Okay? Earth, Earth, Troposphere, Stratosphere, Mesosphere, Thermosphere, Exosphere. Why do I open up for the exosphere? Can someone unmute themselves and let us know? Why
Because it's space.
it's
It's
technically
technically
outer
outer
space.
space.
Very good. Let's do it one more time. Earth, troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere. Yeah. We want to make sure we remember here, guys, the order of those layers and also the purpose of each of those layers. Journey, go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us what you need.
Is the assignment you talk about you putting new assignments in brain pop or Schoology?
We'll be talking about assignments in a moment. Marley, go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us what you need.
Well, for this week's test on the Earth's atmosphere, do you know what it's going to be about?
I'm debating whether we'll have our test this week. I don't think we will. I'm thinking we're going to have our test next Tuesday. And so we'll talk about that test more as that date comes near.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Journey, your hand is still up. Did you need something else? I'm going to put your hand down then. So what we want to talk today about your assignments. I am